Hello and welcome to the sports show featuring me and Nate,
And me.
coming from all the way to you from Xbox land because Nate doesn't know how to buy a headset apparently. This is
I
how we're
know how to
starting.
buy a headset, but apparently just these headsets just don't like me and don't sound right, so I'm using an old Xbox One headset instead.
So we missed last week. There's a lot going on last week in case you guys missed it. There's this election thing going on. And then I got snowed in my house for the rest of the week. So the snowed in didn't really stop me from podcasting. The Broncos' poor performance against the Ravens kind of did. I gotta say though,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm disappointed that we lost in the way that we did. But I think overall, I'm still pretty happy with how the Broncos were, even before watching the KC game. Um, I think two things are really clear. One, we have to get another running back. I think there's no way around it. Cortland Sutton is not our number one guy, and even if he is, he's not good enough to carry Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, um, and Lil Jordan Humphrey, across finish line. We've already benched Dolchik, and I don't think Troutman or Adkins are good enough. And on top of that, Javonte Williams is very clearly not our running back. I think he put up decent numbers against the Ravens, but he had one carry for like 4 yards against the Chiefs. Actually, we talked about him before. Estime ended up having a pretty good game, and I think we can just get another solid back behind Estime. I don't know if Estime is going to be good enough to be the long term solution of our 3 down running back. But I think it's pretty clear that our skill positions are not very skillful right now. Excuse me, and we need to find someone else. That's kind of my big takeaway. The other one is Sean Payne got a little too cute with his play calling against the Ravens. When you're facing a 4th and 1 or 4th and short situation, just just run a power run. Just run an inside zone. You don't have to get fancy. Just trust that your running back's gonna be able to get those 1 or 2 yards. Um, I think like the first 4th down that we went for is like a reverse pitch to Javonte Williams. That's not a very good that's not a very good play. It's like a very high risk, high reward sort of thing where you just need a low risk, low reward sort of situation.
Even in the Chiefs game, something I noticed as well. I think it was third or fourth quarter, but it was one of our last couple drives, not the last one, but like one of the ones before that. But it was the one where we got pinned back, towards our end zone, like 10-yard line or something from a punt, and we get to third down and or sorry, we get to like second down and like 3 or 4, and he just ran. There were like two instances. One time he ran some weird like reverse like receiver kind of like thing or something like that. And the other one he did like an RPO with like Bo Nix from the running back, and Bo kept it, and he lost like 5 yards, so it was like 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10 instead. So yeah, just little things like that where I agree with you. I think he becomes a little too cute with certain play calling. Like he's trying to catch the other team off guard. I get it, but I just know if I was a head coach, I would like rarely call any of those plays. I just be like, what kind of run are we doing? What kind of like pass are we doing? So, but at the same time, I do think it's just him, trying stuff, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and hopefully he sees that some of the stuff hasn't worked, and he won't, call this kind of stuff in the future.
And I think it's also important to remember the Broncos are supposed to be rebuilding. Us being 5-5 right now is awesome.
We're in the
Um,
playoffs. If at the end of the day,
are we?
yeah, I think we're the 7th seed.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
sure.
mean, and we'll talk more about this either later today or tomorrow or next week or whenever. We have kind of a shorter time frame today. Um, but it's looking to be about 10 games. to get into the playoffs, especially given how weak a lot of the other wildcard teams are looking right now. Obviously the AFC East is kind of struggling. Dolphins are basically gonna have to win out to make it to the playoffs. Same with the Jets. I think the Jets actually have to win out because they haven't had their bye yet. The Dolphins could lose one game and feasibly make it to the playoffs. Um, and then the Raiders are going to be out if they lose tomorrow, or if they lose this coming week. The Browns are pretty much out. They have to win out as well. Jags, Titans are out. So really, the Chargers, Broncos, Ravens, and Bengals, and the Colts are like the 5 teams that are kind of competing for a playoff spot. And of those, I like our chances. Maybe not against the Ravens. We'll have to see. If we get swept by the Chargers, I don't think we make it to the playoffs. But I actually don't even know what the Broncos schedule looks like, to be honest. Let me see. We've got
Yeah,
Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. I mean, that's
we got a good schedule. I think we could easily win the next 4 games, in my opinion, because at least we got the Falcons at home, and then the other 3 games after that are definitely winnable until it gets to the Chargers. But that's a game we can win as well. So I think we got to win like what 5 out of 7 games or something like that. Is that what it is?
yeah.
Um,
But I
I
think it's a
think
little
that's
bit
doable.
trickier than that because I think we have to win 5 of 7, and we have to beat Bengals and Colts, right? Because we at least
I
have
think
to beat the Bengals.
well, I think the Bengals will be one of the tougher ones for sure. But to be honest, look, I'm still on the Bengals train, but other teams might knock them out for us. You know, they still got to play the Steelers twice. So, um, but that'll be a tough game. But I do think everything else. I mean, Colts, Browns, Chargers once, Falcons once. We can win those games.
So I like the Broncos' chances of making to the playoffs this year. Whether or not they do anything, if we get in at 7 seed, we have to go against KC. And I will say this: I think the Broncos' defense is specifically designed to stop KC. Um,
Yeah, divisional. Yeah.
so I like our chances a little bit better with KC than against say the Bills.
Well,
But
for 7 seed, we would face the 2 seed.
oh, that's right.
Remember
So we'd
that.
face either the Bills,
So
Steelers, or Ravens.
So yeah, I would hate the Ravens matchup. We just don't
Really?
match up well.
I feel like the
Yeah,
Ravens would be good because they don't do well in the playoffs.
well, yeah, I guess you want to factor that aspect in, but they usually still win a game or two. It's the AFC Championship game that's been kind of a struggle for them.
I don't even think
But I
they've
don't know.
made
I
it to
just
the
feel like
conference game.
they made it last year
Did they?
against the Chiefs. Yeah, they lost against the Chiefs, and they had a home game and they lost against the Chiefs. So yeah, who knows? But you're right. Who knows how they'll actually do though? In general, there is like Lamar does go down a level in the playoffs, but from a matchup standpoint, I think it's tough on our defense, just having to run around and trying to catch Lamar and all this stuff. Um, so that's what scares me. I think a better matchup for us actually would be the Chiefs. Not to say we're trying to like go against the Chiefs in the playoffs or whatever, but um, I think you're right. I think our defense matches up well. They're not an explosive team and our defense does well against that. And we should have won last week. Okay, like if it wasn't for the left side of the field goal like line, like just getting like collapsing, the guy just got pushed on his ass basically. Um, but yeah, I think Chiefs would be our best matchup from that standpoint. I think Steelers would be second best. I mean, we always beat the Steelers. I know Russell's kind of doing his thing now, but I'd love to see a Steelers Broncos matchup, to be honest. And I think the Ravens would be our toughest one.
I can respect that. Um,
Thanks.
but moving on from the Broncos, we're not just a Broncos podcast,
We're nationwide, baby.
but we're mostly Broncos. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, let's be honest there. Yeah.
Um, let's rewind this a bit. You know, the date is before November 9th. or November. Yeah, November 9th, I think was the trade deadline. Maybe. Um, there were a few big trades happening. Obviously the DeAndre Hopkins was a pretty big deal. Um, then there was the oh, who did the Ravens get? The
I don't
Ravens,
know.
the Ravens got someone that was a pretty big deal. But I think the two I'm most interested in is Mike Williams to the Steelers, and then Lattimore. I think Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders.
Commanders, yeah, that's right.
Also, speaking of Lattimore, do you remember Cody Lattimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about him in a while. He had like one really good year and then kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, where the hell did he go? You're right. He was like from Indiana, I think, right? That was where he came from.
Did
Yeah,
I?
we're
I have no idea.
but you're right. That's that, if we were doing our because we'll have some of the Broncos chat of like just let's just name some random Broncos players from like 10 years ago. He wasn't 10 years ago, but like he would be one of them where it's like, wow, kind of forgot about this dude. And we thought he
Because
was gonna be good.
I think he was on the team before Emmanuel Sanders, and then Sanders kind of took over like his spot. I think, or maybe he was after.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No, it looks like okay. Yeah, he was drafted in 2014, so a little earlier than I thought. I thought it was a little later than that. But he was from Indiana. I got that right. Second round pick. That's what I thought. But yeah, he was with the Broncos to 2017 and just dropped off.
Okay, so
Got
after Sanders,
Latimer too. But yeah.
Latimer.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
But let's go backwards. Lattimore to the Commanders is obviously really notable because the Commanders have a really, really good offense, but their defense has been kind of suspect at times. It's not the worst defense in the league. Um, I think we haven't really seen Lattimore do too much with the Commanders. They had that heartbreaking loss. Not loss. Yeah, they had the heartbreaking loss against the Steelers. Um, and then just barely beat the Giants. And then going back even before the trade. Actually, sorry, the Steelers was the first week that they had Lattimore because he wasn't part of the Andre Hopkins week where everyone was getting traded. Um, the Bears, they barely beat the Bears. They barely beat the Giants. And then lost against the Steelers in a very close game. Um, but I'm kind of excited because I think we I think we're starting to see a little bit of give with Jaden Daniels. He's not as dominating as he was at the beginning of the season. He's not throwing those 400-yard games. He's not looking. Um, he's still looking like the offensive rookie of the year because Caleb Williams is not looking good. We'll talk a little more about that. But I think this is going to be a really good improvement for the Commanders, especially since they have to play the Eagles twice a year. The Eagles have probably the best not defense, sorry. The Eagles probably have the best team in the NFL right now. And to be able to just shut down one of their players. Lattimore's not a bad player. He's not someone who's well past his prime, He's not like Jalen Ramsey or Tyrann Mathieu. He's
Yeah, he's
he's
young.
he's still good. He's just coming off of a Pro Bowl year. So the Commanders are looking scary. Um, Probably not Super Bowl scary yet, just because I don't know if Washington can go into Detroit and beat Detroit. But I expect to see them go on a deep playoff run at the very least.
I think they're going to be more of a one and done team this year. I think they will make the playoffs. I mean, they are 7-3, but I mean, it's still a rookie quarterback. It's not often one wins in the playoffs. I mean, I know like Roethlisberger did it like that one year and stuff like that, but I see them one and done. It obviously depends on who they play, if they have home field advantage, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I see one and done with them, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can. I don't know. I like their chances. because I don't think the Commanders are worse than the Cardinals. I don't think they're worse than the 49ers, Rams, or Seahawks, for that matter. Anyone in the NFC West. NFC North, I think they're only worse against the Lions, worse than the Lions. Maybe the Packers. I think we're starting to see a lot of cracks with the Vikings. And then I don't think that they're worse than the Falcons. So really, I think it comes down to the Eagles, Lions, and maybe one of the teams in the NFC West, but none of them have been looking really good, to be honest with you, this year.
Yeah.
Although San Fran might be back, they've got Christian McCaffrey back. I think they have Debo Samuel's back. They have Kittle. I think Trent Williams is back. I might be wrong on that one. So the 49ers might be scary again, but until I start seeing a little bit more convincing wins than you know, 20-17 or whatever it was that they had this past week. 23-20. I'm not entirely convinced.
Yeah, that kicker missed like 3 field goals or whatever. Did you see that video of
Oh,
Debo?
yeah. I haven't seen
Kind
the
of like,
video, but I saw headlines about it.
yeah, it was kind of a weird motion. He was almost like he was trying to smack him, sort of, or just put his hands on him, kind of thing. And
Oh,
then
was
the
that the
long,
where he put his hands on his throat, right?
yeah,
Yeah, no, I did see that.
no, not really on his throat. He was just like, I don't know. He was just kind of like swiping at them, not hard, but just putting his hands up, kind of thing. It was just kind of like kind of just like an aggressive move, but not like actually being like hitting anyone or anything. But yeah, he kind of did that to the long snapper and the kicker, and the long snapper like took it like personally and was just like coming at him and stuff. And yeah, honestly, you can't be doing that as Debo. You know, I get you're frustrated like with a kicker, like you miss. You're trying to like maybe hold him accountable or whatever, but
Keep it in
you got to
house.
be you got to be a team. You got to be a team, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what separates like the Lions right now or something. Like they Goff threw 5 interceptions and they still won that game. You know, against a really good Houston team by 3 points. So you wouldn't have seen that on the sideline if you're like a cohesive team. Everyone's
Yeah.
like bought in. Debo, just kind of going rogue and doing his thing like that. Like that's kind of messed up. So
I mean, Shanahan said that it was blown out of proportions, but you it's the optics, right? I mean, there's similar criticisms when Rodgers threw down his tablet when Brady was yelling at McDaniels. I mean, even like this year with Rodgers and how he's handled you know, when they had Salah,
yeah,
when they had Salah, and him like pushing him away. Um, we saw with Cam Newton at Super Bowl 50 where he's just with a towel over his head. Even if everything is fine on the team, the optics matter a lot, and we're kind of seeing it now with Eberflus and Doug Peterson talking about their players and putting them on blast. Gerard Mayo, sort of, but it seems like they've kind of resolved that. Um,
right.
but I'm pretty interested in this Mike Williams to the Steelers because the Steelers, when you look at every wide receiver the Steelers have been looking at, which they've been looking for a wide receiver since the offseason because they were tied to Brandon Ayuk, they were tied to Cooper Kupp, they were tied to D'Angelo. Why can't I not remember his name now? Because it's not D'Angelo. Who's the guy that just
Um,
got traded to the Chiefs? DeAndre Hopkins.
oh yeah,
They were tied to DeAndre Hopkins. They were tied to Garrett Wilson. They're tied to Deontay, who they can't even get back from the Ravens. Um, who was the other wide receiver that just got traded? Same time that DeAndre Hopkins got traded. Oh,
Amari.
yeah, Amari Cooper. I don't think Amari Cooper was tied to the Steelers because it was within the division, but Devontae Smith, right? So like all six of those wide receivers were tied
Oh
to at
no.
some point.
Oh yeah. Well, he wasn't traded, but yeah.
Devontae?
Devontae Smith from the Eagles.
No, sorry. Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. Okay,
killing it
sorry.
today, dude. Yeah, Devontae Adams. All six of those were tied to some point to going to the Steelers, and they get Mike Williams, who isn't even like the number 3 receiver on the Jets. Um, it looked very clearly like they were trying to move away from Pickens, and now they have Mike Williams, who he's not gonna replace Pickens anytime soon. But he did pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of throws shade at Aaron Rodgers for not getting him more involved.
yeah. I mean, when you have as many wide receivers as, I think the Eagles and the Bears are the only teams that, and the Texans before Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, were the only teams that had better wide receivers than the Jets did this year.
I mean,
So
Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, like that's a pretty good trio if
yeah,
you're
but
using
you
them
forget that
correctly.
Adam Lazard was
And
like their
Lazard,
third string, not Mike Williams
right? Yeah,
for some
but that's
reason.
a good, core receivers right there. Real quick, by the way, did you see Marquez Valdez Scalding, whatever his name is, go off this weekend?
No,
The Saints. He had like two long touchdowns, like came out of nowhere and just like destroyed it with the Saints, even though he was like with the Giants or some team or whatever, like prior to this. But anyway, yeah, basically all of Aaron Rodgers' receivers are playing better without him right now. So unfortunately for him,
I mean, yeah, he looks 39 a lot of the time. And
I
it's
think
unfortunate.
this is the first time I've actually been like, all right, you know what? Like I don't know if he's got it in him anymore. Prior to this, I was like, he's still there, like he's still playing well, like it's not he's not as mobile, all this stuff, but he's still got it. But now I'm like, you know what? It might be time. Like maybe you go one more year, get a full off season with Devontae and stuff, and see how that goes. But I think he's got 1 year max left on him, if especially if it doesn't go well.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if he doesn't pop off next year. I'd be surprised to see him finishing out next year, to be honest. If he
Yeah,
if he even plays again.
yeah. I think it's 1 year bust. But yeah.
On top
What
of
else we got?
on
Yep.
top of trades, I don't think we really have to talk too much about the Hopkins trade, or the Hopkins trade. A good team gets better. The Adams trade doesn't seem like it's really doing much. Like they beat the Texans. It's looking more and more like the Texans were treating that as a trap game, and we're kind of worried about the Lions this week. It does suck that the Texans just lost 2 games in a row. But it is what it is. I kind of want to talk about firings. The Raiders basically fired their entire offensive side of the ball. They fired their offensive coordinator, they fired their QB coach, and they fired their offensive line coach. And apparently, Max Crosby was the one that wanted these firings to happen. On top of making what's his name, Antonio Pierce,
Yeah.
and on top of wanting to keep Antonio Pierce at the end of last year, the Raiders are not a good team. The Raiders might be the first team to be eliminated from the playoffs this coming Sunday if they lose. And on top of that, there were teams looking at trying to get Max Crosby, including the Lions, that the Raiders decided not to trade for him. I don't know too much about Max Crosby. It's looking a lot like he wants to play GM like Aaron Rodgers. But that's crazy to me that you fire your entire offensive coaching staff and then expect that somehow you're gonna be able to recover from that this year. And maybe they're not, right? Maybe they're going,
There's
we're
no
just
way.
gonna bust this year. But this is not really a great year to bust because there is no Caleb Williams, there's no Trevor Lawrence, there's no
Shador's
um
pretty good, but we'll see.
he he's a good college quarterback.
Not he's gonna be good. He's gonna be a good pro.
We'll
He, but
see.
he, he's but he's only one though. You're right. There's no like last year we had five prospects where everyone was excited about. This year it's really him. There's a couple others like Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, but they're not as like highly touted. So yeah, I mean I think there definitely won't be like whatever 6, 7 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I'm thinking one or two,
And
1 to 3
I don't even
max.
know
Yeah.
if a quarterback's gonna be taken in the first round, or not first round, first overall.
Yeah, that's debatable. I agree with that. I don't know if Shador's going number one. I think Shador's going top 10 though,
I
for
can agree with
sure.
top 10.
Yeah, like
Um,
well, probably top 5, but
I
for
haven't
sure top
watched
10.
I haven't watched Shooter play too much this year. I wasn't too impressed with him last year. Obviously, the Buffs kind of fell down a cliff after Travis Hunter got hurt, but
Buffs might win the Big 12 and go like 10-2 this year though, so we'll see.
yeah, I mean they started off slow. They're looking better now apparently.
Beat
Um,
Baylor, that crazy touchdown. Anyway, we're getting
yeah.
off topic here. Anyway,
So,
um,
but
but
so
to your
it's not a good
yeah,
year to bust. There's not really that franchise-saving quarterback in the NFL. Like your best
yeah,
bet Shador, who he looks like your prototypical college quarterback, right? He's really fast. He's got a pretty strong arm, but does he have that awareness? Is he able to play at a pro level? We'll see, especially considering that the Raiders don't necessarily have a great offensive line. If they choose to keep Pierce for one more year, on top of that, they got rid of basically their only good wide receiver. Granted, they have I can't remember their tight end's name.
who?
Bowers.
Oh, Brock Bowers. Yeah,
They
he's
have
good.
Bowers, who's really good. But how many teams can you list off in the past 10 years who their best receiver was a tight end and they succeeded? Because I can only think of one.
Yeah, and kind of just hopping on your Raiders thing, Raiders point as well. Like, I mean, what are they gonna do? They don't have a quarterback. Why? How is firing everyone gonna do anything? They're still gonna like not win any games. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense. Um, and then yeah, the Bears OC got fired today. Um, Shane Waldron, I think. Yeah. And I think honestly it's more on Caleb. I think there could be a better job done at giving him some more layups, just easy passes here and there. But from just what I've been hearing, what I've been seeing is it seems like Caleb's missing a lot of throws. He's kind of getting that I'm seeing ghosts kind of thing. You know what I mean? That Sam Darnold had in New York, which is kind of getting a little concerning. Not like I said, not a perfect situation with the Bears, but I mean he's got some weapons. He's got DJ Moore who works everywhere. I mean they
It's
drafted Ron Gunze, like he's got a good offensive line actually. I don't think it's as bad as people. I don't want to say good, but I don't think it's as bad as people think
it's
it
not
is.
like a bottom five offensive line. I'll give you that.
I think they're getting more sacks because Caleb is
Holding on to the ball.
yeah just making that happen. It's not just because like everyone's penetrating the line and they're getting to him for like every play or whatever. So I think I guess I'm okay with the firing just to get a different idea of what to do with Caleb. Clearly, it wasn't working, even if it was his fault as well. So it is what it is. Um, but I mean, this guy has like worked with a bunch of good quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Geno Smith. He was in Seattle. And somebody else, I forgot who the other good quarterback was, but I think he's just not used to coaching a rookie. You got to coach the rookies a little bit, a little bit differently, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is Caleb Williams came into when you're drafted first overall, you are never really in a good position, right? Sometimes you'll have a situation like Eli Manning or John Elway where you get drafted first overall and you get traded right away to a better team. Um, Caleb Williams walked into probably one of the best situations a first overall pick can get because the Bears weren't the worst team in the NFL last year. The Panthers were. This was the Panthers pick. On top of that, they signed a bunch of new tools for Caleb Williams to throw to. But for some reason, they kept Eberflus, who's not an offensive coach. They didn't hire Cliff Kingsbury, who worked with Caleb his senior year at USC. Um,
Right.
and now they're wanting to fire their OC. And apparently, I don't know how true this is, but there are reports that players are asking for Bajan to start playing. I like Bajan, but I don't like Bajan because he's a good quarterback. I just think he's a cool person. The same reason why I really like Taysom Hill, not because he's the best tight end in the NFL, but I just really like his versatility. Um, but like the nicest thing I say about Bajan is, man, his backup at football didn't work. It's really fucking funny. Which if you didn't know, he was going to become a professional arm wrestler like his dad.
That dude's crazy.
So so on top, so you have Caleb Williams going to the best situation a rookie quarterback can go into, looking terrible. They've only scored like 200 yards. They've only had about 200 yards the last 2 weeks. He got sacked 9 fucking times against the Patriots, which is insane. There are quarterbacks who haven't gotten sacked 9 times yet this year, and he got sacked 9 times in one game.
That's crazy. Drake
And
May, and he was going against fellow, draft counterpart Drake May, and Drake May's he started out rough this season, but he's actually kind of, been looking better the last few weeks. So
and Drake
to
May
to,
wasn't
to be
even
outplayed
supposed
by
to
Drake
start.
May, yeah, to be outplayed by Drake May, and you're the number one pick, like that's kind of tough.
So I'm kind of I always said that Caleb Williams was going to be a bust. You can listen to podcasts from last year to verify this. But now I'm thinking he's going to be a bust because Eberflus is just going to ruin Caleb Williams' confidence. And if you watch him play, he's a huge confidence player. He makes ego throws because he knows that he can do that. And when you have a defensive minded coach, that's not really going to happen where he's going to say, "Hey, just do the check down. Just throw the ball away. You don't have to make the hero play." That's why you draft Caleb Williams. And then to pair him up with a head coach who doesn't want to do that is insane to me. I don't
I I agree.
I don't know if there's really much to talk about with Dennis Allen. I feel kind of bad because the Saints broke half their team. They were missing Derek Carr for a while. They lost both of their cornerbacks for a bit. They just lost their Olave. They lost another wide receiver. I think like half their offensive line um didn't start the season, but the Saints are just in a bad situation, and we'll see how well this firing happens. You and I talked a little bit when Saleh got fired, how teams tend to rally behind a new head coach. I can kind of see that with the Saints. Um, I can see that happening with.
They didn't rally with Salah, his replacement though. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets have a lot of other issues.
Totally.
Um, who do you think we're gonna see another coach firing this year?
Well, I mean, look, if McCarthy is the one where it's like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like they have injuries and it's not, roster issues or whatever. I don't think it's gonna happen with him because I think Jerry just doesn't fire people
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean it's the
middle
same
of the
with
season.
Eberflus, right?
Well, I think Eberflus coming back though, but
You think he's coming back next year?
well, they've already said that. I mean, we'll see. What yeah, they've actually said he'll be back next year.
That's
So we'll see if
crazy.
they actually stick with that. But I don't think they'll fire McCarthy mid-season. If they do fire him, maybe it'd be after the season. But other than him, no, I think it's about it. There's not anyone else I would think of that get fired
Doug
like
Peterson?
right now. No, I think we'll go through the rest of the season with Doug Peterson. There's no reason to fire him right now. Yeah, I think everyone else is staying. I mean, look, we're already halfway through. I mean, to fire someone like right now, like, I mean, just ride him through the rest of the season and see what happens.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you think we see Trey Lance this year?
We already did. We saw him at the end of the game. No,
Yeah, but
no. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Cooper Rush is not playing
the
well at all, so it's almost like might as well throw him out there and see what happens.
yeah, the argument I see is we already know what Cooper Rush is capable of. We don't really know what Trey Lance is capable of. We should just,
We
you know,
kind of do, but yeah, we need to see more of him though. So why not give him a little more film and let's see if he really is like not a good quarterback or if there's something there that San Francisco missed.
so I'm gonna list out some fun facts and then we'll go into our top five and bottom five teams in the NFL. Panthers have, for the first time in 17 games, won 2 games in a row, which is hilarious to me.
They got some momentum.
They've got
They're,
something.
let's go.
The Jets, since firing Saleh, now have the highest allowed EPA, their defense. EPA basically just means estimated points. I don't remember what the A stands for. It's basically how many points you expect to
Allowed.
score allowed.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And I've seen it just for the games, but it's crazy how the Jets went from like this really good defense the first like 4 games when Salah was there to like literally just getting mauled
I
on the
don't
defensive side,
I don't
and they
think
even have Sauce
people
Gardner back too.
I
Like
don't
they're
think
just getting
people
destroyed.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to call an offense while simultaneously preparing your defense to play. And right
What do you mean?
now, because he's having to do head coach stuff as well as still doing the calls on defense.
Oh yeah,
So like on
yeah.
third downs, he's he's having to do multiple jobs because he has to either prepare his defense to go up while he's not calling offensive plays, but he still has to. I honestly don't know what a head coach does. I do
Well, no,
know that
right,
he had a
he has to
bunch
keep
of.
track of the offense. Yeah.
I mean, he had a bunch. His first week that he was coaching for the Jets, he had a bunch of 12 man on the field penalties or close to having 12 man on the field penalties. He had a lot of near delay of games. He did not look good. The defense did not look good that first week, and they've gotten a little bit better, but they still look way worse than when they had Salah. And
Yeah.
then final fun fact: the Cowboys have been outscored by 100 points 100 points at home in the last 2 years. It's like 100 and I think it's 135 points, point differential
Good
at
Lord,
home.
that's insane.
So something is up in the Cowboys, and we're seeing players not playing well. We're seeing them not play with their hearts. We're also seeing Michael Parsons throwing Mike McCarthy under the bus. So, um,
Right. No, a lot of things happen. The Cowboys, they just need more players and they need a reset. Like, and it's gonna be tough because they had Dak signed up, and it's gonna be expensive either way. So good luck to them.
yeah, I mean they're in a better position than the Saints. But all right, let's go your top five teams, and I'll go my top five and bottom five, bottom five. Are you ready, or do you want me to go
So
first?
I'll go first. So top five for me: Kansas City Chiefs #1. Should I go 5-1 or 1-5?
Let's go 5-1.
5-1. Yeah, that's the same thing. I have 5-1. I was gonna go with um the Ravens at 5. Okay. I'm gonna go. Sorry, no, Steelers at 5. I'm gonna go Steelers. Sorry,
Do you want me to
reset,
go first?
reset. No, no, no. Steelers at 5. Okay, Ravens at 4. Bills at 3. Lions at 2, Chiefs at 1 is where I'm going. And what really stands out to me with that list is like 4 of those teams are AFC teams. 2 of them in the same division. Um, it's very like AFC stacked at the top. The NFC is very kind of mid. You got the Lions there, obviously doing their thing. The Eagles are starting to come up finally, but after that, it's a crapshoot. Cardinals, I mean, they got a 4 game win streak. We'll see what happens. Vikings, I mean, Darnold, how far will they take him? And Commanders are looking good with Jane, but rookie quarterback. So that's my top 5. What about you?
So I've got a similar AFC NFC spread. Five, I have it between Texans and Commanders. I'd probably give it to the Texans, just because we've seen Jaden Daniels not. We've seen Jaden Daniels low points. We've seen Texans low points too, and they are on a
But
two-game losing
Texans,
streak.
Texas is #5 overall.
Yeah,
Dude, they're 6-4. They just lost to the.
they lost two close games. They also have, I think, one of the best offenses, even without Stephon Diggs, and a pretty solid defense. I think they're
Are you,
I think they're gonna look a lot better as the season goes on. I think they're just
are you
they're
sure about that one? Okay, okay.
I think
All
they're
right, all right.
because okay. So here's the things. I don't have the Steelers at all in my top five.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess these Steelers being off. I mean, they were 5 for me, so.
And you already know what my feelings are on the Eagles. I don't. No one in the NFC West really scares me. Um, Vikings
N-
have a really good
n-
defense, but their offense has been questionable, to be nice.
Niners would be 6 for me, but yeah,
Niners
yeah.
are up there, and I need to see. I've been saying this all year. I need to see more from the Niners before I have them being a top five team again.
Literally a full season, but
Yeah,
like yeah,
probably. Number
yeah.
four, I have the Bills.
Okay.
Um, Number three might be kind of controversial. I have the Chiefs at number three. I
Wow,
just
it's a little controversial. I mean, they're still
they're
9-0, man.
they're
But
nine and
yeah,
zero. They also have not a great point differential. They've won all of their games by 7 points or less. Besides one, they won one game by 10 points. Every other game has been decided by 7 or less points.
one possession basically.
Um, Maybe that will change with DeAndre Hopkins. He looked really good against the Broncos, and he looked really, really good the week before against the Bengals. But I, I just need to see a little bit more. I need to see him integrate more with the offense before I put them anything higher than three. Number two, I have the Ravens. This seems more like like a Gohan pick from Dragon Ball Z. Like they have a lot of potential to be the best team uh, in the NFL right now. They're just
That's secondary though.
yeah,
It's tough.
yeah, their defense is holding them back. And then number one, I have the Lions. I don't think that's that
Okay.
controversial. You don't have them at number one,
No,
but
I don't think it is.
you know how many teams can win by even with their quarterback throwing five interceptions, or how many teams can you see say can score 30 plus points with their quarterback only throwing 88 yards? And it's not like Jared Goff is a bad quarterback. Like he looked bad against the Texans, and I will give you that. But Goff is not a bad quarterback. He was in the Pro Bowl last year. He was in the Pro Bowl, I think, not his last year with the Rams, but the year before that. He's made it to the Super Bowl once with the Rams. He made it to the conference game with the Lions last year. So I don't think we've seen anything close to the peak of the Lions, and I don't think that they're in a window right now. I think they're only going to get better from here.
Yep.
All right. Well, I feel like bottom five worst is kind of hard. Should we just do bottom three?
Well, I can give you bottom five, but I can't really give you an order. It's too tough right now. There's
Yeah.
kind of some really bad teams, but my bottom five, just I'm not gonna give you an order. Titans, Raiders, Jaguars, Giants, and I'm gonna put the Cowboys in there. That's the one that's kind of different. They just looked really bad the last few weeks, and with Dak out now, there's like, you know, quarterback's gone, nine up in the skill positions. Defense is a little bit decimated as well. Cowboys, I think, are a bottom five team all of a sudden.
So I have similar to you, except I don't have the Cowboys. I have the Browns. They do look a little bit better, funnily enough, with James Winston. And I forget who their other quarterback is. Um,
Uh,
It's
it's
DTR.
DTR.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
it's not DTR. It's not the answer.
Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Um, so I've got the Browns over the Cowboys. I can see an argument for the Cowboys. I also have the Saints up there too, but I don't think the Saints quite cracked the worst five. I put the Browns
At
in.
least Derek Carr's okay. Yeah.
I put the Browns in because at least last year when they were also doing really bad with Deshaun Watson and got Joe Flacco, they had a really good defense. Their defense, while still good, hasn't been as impressive as it was last year. They've allowed 213 points this year, which is more than the Steelers, it's more than the Broncos, more than the Chargers, more than the Chiefs, Bills, and it's only 1 point less than the Jets, and the Jets have not been great defensively as of late. So the Browns, I think, don't even have a top five defense anymore to kind of carry their bottom two offense. And Jameis Winston is not their guy. Deshaun Watson's not their guy. And I don't really see how they're going to recover, which is similar to why I have the Saints on there because I don't see how the Browns or the Saints get better from here because they have very low draft capital, they have very low cap space, and they have very little talent on the team. So
Yeah. I'd rather be the Saints though, because at least they just have a bunch of injuries and stuff that's kind of holding them back. Obviously, they trade Marshall and everything, but even then, they got a little more talent than the Browns, in my opinion, and they're a better situation than the Browns are. But yeah, I got you. Same page.
And then, we always end every episode with games that we want to watch. There's some pretty good games this week, actually. There's the Commanders Eagles, which I think is really exciting. They're both 7-win teams. Technically, the Eagles are ahead because they had their bye week, so they have one less loss.
Football too.
We've got Ravens Steelers for the battle for that division. We've got Seahawks 49ers, which used to be exciting. This year, maybe not as exciting. Both of the teams are kind of on a slight downswing. We've got Chiefs Bills, which is always a classic matchup that we see almost every year now, and it's fantastic. And then we got Bengals Chargers, which I feel like you're really
Yeah.
excited about.
Love those. I love both of those quarterbacks. So big game, big game.
So I mean, if you had to choose which game you were most excited for, um, which one? Which
Well,
one do you think
I
it
think
is?
I think I just go Chiefs Bills just to see if someone can finally take down the Chiefs, which we should have been that team last week, but it's
God, I'm
at Bills.
so
This is
fucking
gonna.
mad.
I know. Yeah. I mean,
I
I
was
almost
at a
called you.
dude. I was at
Like,
a brewery. We went to a brewery to
yeah.
watch the end of the game because we were in Castle Rock, and
It,
I see him kick, and I see him running immediately. And
yeah.
before anyone else in the brewery even like sees what happens, I just yell, "God damn it!" And Karen goes, "What's wrong?" And as soon as she says that, everyone in the brewery just starts booing. The
Oh
Bills
yeah.
should be able to beat the Chiefs. The Bills have a better offense than the Broncos, and they have every year. I'm
The
surprised
deep.
at how good the Bills
Yeah.
defense is.
No. Yeah. I mean, McDermott's a good coach. They have a comparable defense to the Broncos, but they got a better quarterback than us, obviously, at least right now. So um, they should do it, but yeah, I just don't know, man. I'm over it though. Someone beat this freaking team.
So
That's my game. I think Chiefs Bills. If I were to pick one, would be my number one. See what happens. That'll be a good game. So
that was gonna be my game too, but I think I'm gonna change it to Eagles Commanders. It'll be fun to see Jan Daniels going against like a top 5 defense. I don't know if the Eagles still have top 5 defense. I think they do.
no, they have a good defense. They have a good defense.
Otherwise, it's gonna be Steelers Ravens, just because I'm not a believer in the Steelers yet, and that game's probably gonna determine whether or not, even if the Steelers lose, if Russ shows up big, which he should. The Ravens don't have a good secondary. He should be able to show
Right.
up big.
Yeah,
Um,
they're at home, so you would think so.
but I know you're running late. This is one of our fastest episodes that we've ever had. You've been listening to the sports show. We'll see you next week or in 2 weeks. Don't forget to
Bye.
like and subscribe, or do. Doesn't really matter.